everyone. Sorry, I had to jump on that real quick. But excited to test out the first space here with um, Quentin, and we're hoping we'll get some traction as we keep going, but we're excited to get these spaces up and running and hopefully a podcast here soon.
Sorry, I was turning off my fan, but yeah, that's the hope. Should be fun. First little test run.
We got to start somewhere, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's a fun time to start these things, especially with how everything's going in the BYU sports world. You know, we have the bowl game coming up. We just got AJ basketball starting to heat up, and we're going to get into into conference play. But I guess for you, like, what are you most excited for as it comes to like the future of BYU football, based on how we ended the season or how we will end the season?
I'm pretty excited for the future. I think the potential pickups that we do have are pretty good, and even the people that we have had committed already, like Carson Ryan, I think will be huge. Um, yeah.
No, I think as the bowl game, as we play that bowl game here at the end of the month, I think we'll have a big, um, hopefully a big influx in our recruiting. I feel like that's a little bit on the back burner right now with the transfer portal, just because we're focusing on the players we do have and the players that we're trying to win this bowl game with, and then after that, we're gonna really put our dip our hands and feet into the transfer portal. At least that's my hope, but we'll kind of see what they do. What do you think is the biggest position we need to target for BYU in the portal?
I think definitely our offensive line. I think if we can get that stepped up this next season, um, just because we got Connor Pay leaving, that'll be a huge hit. But I think you know we can get something there that will be very very helpful for the future. Because I like our defense. Maybe we could get some defensive linemen in there, but I trust J Ho. We've got some good people coming up that's already on the team. I'm really excited to watch them play.
No, I think that would be awesome, and I'm hoping there's a couple people that have entered the portal on the offensive line that have had BYU on their landscape in the past, um, and so hopefully that they kind of consider us again and they want to take that chance. And we also have Tree City up in here in BYU, Florida. I guess we'll start with BYU, Florida. How do you think the football season ended, and what are you hoping we make changes to prepare for next year after the bowl game?
Yeah, I've been trying to digest how I feel about how everything have ended. Obviously, it sucks to lose two out of three of your final games after such a amazing season. Um, but you know, I think if we win the bowl game, if we can go in and beat Colorado, it's ranked right now the number one non-college football playoff bowl. So if we can go get our biggest bowl payout ever, beat Colorado, go 11-2. I decided I'd be end up on a very high happy note if we win.
No,
If we
I like that.
so like obviously that would kind of erase the very bad luck we had in missing the college football playoff and championship game. And I think we could ride that a lot. Uh, Going, it's just so funny how like winning a bowl game, even if it's like a nothing bowl, it just makes the season feel so much better. Even though so many times you say like, oh, bowl games don't matter, but like when we lost, when was it? 2021. Think how amazing that season was. Beat Utah, 10 wins, but then we go and lose in Shreveport
To
to
UAB,
UAB.
yep.
Um, yeah, and it just I like don't even remember that season other than like beating Utah. Like that's just a bummer season in my eyes. But the next year, terrible season kind of too. I mean, we lost to Liberty,
Yep.
East Carolina at home, but then we go and beat SMU in the
At
bowl
the very
game.
last second. Yep.
And yeah, and I was like, I felt so much happier at the end of that season. So I think it does end up, uh, you know, making a big difference. So that's kind of my take. I think gotta beat them, and I'm writing very happy. Still disappointed with what could have been, but happy going into next year.
For sure, especially starting the season with a 4.5 game like line for wins to end up being 10, having a shot, but having kind of shooting ourselves in the foot, and then having some not great tiebreakers go our way to keep us out of the conference championship. Definitely something to hopefully build off of, and the energy that we ended the season with. Hopefully, we can pull out a win at Colorado and then build off of that to be like we can only go up. But what do you think are going to be the biggest keys to beating Colorado, especially if they have most of their guys staying? They don't really look like they've had a lot of opt outs. They don't really look like they've had they've only had a few transfers that I've seen. What do you think is going to be BYU's biggest like stumbling block, I guess, in trying to beat Colorado?
Um, I think just not being depressed because it sounds like we were still depressed about missing the conference game, and we came out kind of flat against Houston and didn't really have a pretty game at home to end the season. Mostly just we won that more because Houston's just not that great
Yeah,
than us performing really well. So if we still come in with that kind of mopey like look at what we had attitude, like look what we missed, we should be the ones with a bye right now or whatever it is. We got to get rid of that and just come back out super hyped and ready, because I don't know, what do you think? Do you think Colorado, how do you think Colorado is going to come out? That's my main, like, I'm more concerned about that. Is Colorado going to be hyped and ready and pumped to like come out and win that game more than us? I think that's what it's going to come down to. Who is more excited, who's more hyped, and not depressed, because Colorado also was right there, fumbled it
for sure.
too, so they're kind of similar.
And it feels like every press conference you see from Dion, and those guys, like they're all like, we're playing in the bowl game. It's our last. Like for some of them, before they try to go to the NFL, like it's their last game to prove what they can do. So I think that this is going to be, in trying to be as unbiased, but even what I've seen other people say, one of the best, if not the best, bowl game outside of the college football playoffs. Because I think it's both two very, very good teams that have a lot to show and a lot to play for, and so I think it should, if the players keep that attitude, it should match up for a really fun game. But Quentin, what do you think about the bowl game? What are you thinking is our biggest key to success, or what's going to be the biggest stumbling block for BYU as we try to face Colorado here in just just about a week and change?
Yeah, I think stopping Travis Hunter for sure. I mean, he's got over 1,100 receiving yards on the season. That's going to be a hard player to stop, but I trust Jay Hill. We've got some good defensive ends, and good safeties, linebackers, all of that. I mean, if I remember right, because it's on my mind now, we have at least one interception every game of the regular season, correct? If I do remember right.
I want to say yes. I'm going to look just before I say anything crazy, but I'm pretty sure we have at least one, and we have, I think it's 20 total
Yeah, like I
throughout the
think
entire season.
20 to 22, somewhere between there. But I think that's going to be like creating turnovers is going to be a huge key to success in this bowl game. And I think if BYU can do that, they'll definitely pull out the win. Um, yeah, it's going to be a tough game. A lot of eyes on it now that Travis Hunter's the Heisman Trophy winner.
For sure.
Um, but I mean, either way, I think it's going to be a fun game no matter what. Um, just to watch BYU play against such a good balanced team with Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders. Um, it it's going to be a blast to watch, and I can't wait for it.
I'm excited, and Rob just said in the comments that we have had one every game, so thank you for that. I think like watching other Colorado games throughout the season, it really looked like for Shadur Sanders, like he struggled. He did well when you give him a little bit of time, even if you have people double covered. He can move around enough to try and give them time to make something happen. But when you get that immediate pressure, it kind of flusters him a little bit. So I'm hoping that we can dial up some fun blitzes or different packages that'll use our linebackers or even our safeties and defensive backs to kind of blitz in some fashion, and it'll rattle him a little bit, so we have a little bit of an advantage. But I'm excited. I think the boys will be hungry, and I think they're kind of like BYU Florida said, they hopefully they're not depressed, and they're kind of wanting to use this to prove themselves rather than be like wallowing in the fact that we didn't make the conference championship or anything like that. But Tree City, you're a Kansas State fan. From looking on the outside in, what do you see from BYU football this season, or as they prep for the postseason, or what do you, as a Kansas State fan, think that they need to build on to try and take it to the next level?
Well, I'll say one thing. First of all, before I start, Jerome Tang just lost his first overtime game in his coaching career to fucking Drake. So tonight, but there's a lot of issues with our basketball team right now. But no, with BYU, and what I was gonna say when uh, BYU Florida was making a point about Colorado. Colorado, if you go back and you look, I mean, they got their ass kicked by not only K State. I mean, we let them up literally all game long. They couldn't stop us. They lost to KU. You know, that's not a great team. And so this game is absolutely winnable for BYU without question. Now, what, like you said, hopefully they show up with the motivation to go out and get the win and not, give Colorado any momentum going into the next year. But
Please,
Co-
if BYU beats Colorado with the Heisman Travis Hunter, it would be the funniest thing. On this page, I will become insufferable.
we all will.
I think
But
even just Twitter in general will go crazy.
yeah, well, I think it's something that
Travis Hunter
everyone's
losing to the
rooting for.
Mormons. That'll be a big thing. I guarantee it. If BYU wins.
Is
But yeah,
Travis even playing in the Alamo Bowl?
It sounds like from what
Yeah.
Coach Prime has said and everyone said, like Shadur is playing, Travis is playing. They're basically having their whole team pull up. So I'm hoping that BYU matches that. I hope that Colorado actually has everyone play, because to have it be like what could have been a conference championship game, it'll be awesome. Rather than like, I think of like, if there are opt outs, you're looking at basically what FSU and Georgia did, last season, where they just got, they felt like they got cheated, so everyone stopped playing. I hope that both teams have people show up, because it could be a really fun matchup, especially because it wasn't a regular season matchup. But
The Alamo Bowl is basically the parallel universe version of the Big 12 championship if Kansas didn't exist.
yep, if Kansas didn't screw everything up for everyone, it would be a good time. But Kansas had to go for their 5-7 record and just destroy three teams in a row and be like, you know what?
They had to be
Screw you
good.
guys.
They
Yeah.
had to be good.
Yep.
and to be fair, at least be thankful that you're not Marshall and lost every
Oh,
player on your
sheesh.
team.
I can't believe that. That's just so wild to.
I can't believe I saw the Sickos committee. Shout out to Sickos committee. They were in the podcast talking about like how many people like LA Tech was not like Louisiana Tech was not the first choice of the 5-7 team. Like almost every single one of them declined.
Yeah. Well, you think of like
Which
if you're a 5-7 team for a bowl game, like by the time you find out you lose that seventh game, transfer portal is basically opening for you guys, and you're trying to see like, are we going to stay here? Are we going to go somewhere else? So half these people have already like entered the portal, and their team's basically destroyed right now.
Like
Coaches have left.
in theory, what would okay? So in theory, let's say Louisiana Tech did not take it. Neither did Louisiana Monroe, I believe. Louisiana Monroe didn't take it. No 5-7 team take it. What would have happened? Would have the bowl game just been canceled, or would they have just started going for 4-8 teams?
They would have gone to Kansas and said, "Please give us one more game," and they'd say no.
'Cause I
um,
mean, like I said, you could have. Like I said, the funniest thing, I even put it on the Storm the Field UCF posted saying, "Please let us in, please." Obviously, it was a joke because right now our coaching staff, UCF's coaching staff is. I mean, have you seen what's going on at UCF? Did you see who they hired?
I don't see it.
Grinch, however you from
Yep.
where was he at most recently? USC or
Uh,
Wisconsin?
Wisconsin, but
Yeah,
USC has a defensive coordinator.
yeah, I know. There are a lot of UCF fans not happy about it. And I don't know, because like I mean the reasoning a lot of them are giving is, because I thought he was pretty good at Washington State, and then when he went to kind of the bigger, USC Oklahoma, that he kind of fell off and did absolutely horrible. But isn't that the same thing that kind of happened with Frost? Killed it at UCF and then went to Nebraska and had unlimited resources and talent and
I
just
mean,
was.
UCF right now is they're literally playing the Ted Roof. Like they didn't. It does not look like they learned their lesson with Ted Roof.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But going off what Tree City was talking about with Jerome Tang, first overtime loss. Did you guys know? I'm pretty sure you can fact check me, but I'm pretty sure Kalani Sitake's first overtime loss ever was last year versus Oklahoma State, to miss a bowl game and have a losing season. Um, does that sound right, Ollie?
I think so, and I remember being so mad because like we came down to that double overtime. We had that fumble, but it wasn't even that. Like we were blowing them out at the first half, and then we just let Ollie Gordon basically do what he did to us at home again this season. Thankfully, we won this one, but like let him go wild, and it also didn't help. We had like our borderline All Pro tackle Kingsley be like, you know what, I'm kind of done. I'm not going to play. Opted out of the last. I want to say he opted out of both Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, if I am not mistaken. And it kind of like threw us for a loop. And I think there were already problems in the locker room. I think that didn't help, and it
Mm-hmm.
just was a gnarly way to end it in a double overtime loss after blowing an 18-point first half lead to then not go to a bowl game in our first year, while hearing the 8-5 hospital Utes in the Pac-4, talk crap and be like, "This is the worst day of my life."
Where's Jeremy when we
I
need his
know.
input on that game?
And then what was worse is like both years that Utah went to the Pac-12 championship, they like had the easiest roads in. It's a 12-team conference with divisions, and then the other year they had like the 8-way tiebreaker thing go exactly their way to waltz in with 3 losses.
No, like that
Um,
was the craziest thing. It was like all these teams had to lose. Like Joe Biden had to win the election. Like there were so many odds that had to go into that one way to get them into another Rose Bowl loss. I can't begin to explain how infuriating it is to hear them talk about this and try this year to talk about tiebreakers. Like they didn't have the most 2016 Cavs tiebreaker win of all time just to get into the game to lose in the Rose Bowl to the fourth string practice squad Ohio State. Like just blows my mind.
well, and it was just so funny how um, Penn State too, man. So we had a buddy. I think, by the way, if no one's ever been to a Penn State home game, especially a whiteout, that is bucket list must do. Doesn't matter who they're playing. We went to one last year. And it was just absolutely amazing. We went to their home opener against West Virginia, and so we thought like, oh, they're going to do some big announcement, for the Rose Bowl. Guess what? Didn't hear a thing. Didn't say anything. Didn't say like, and now our Rose Bowl champion. Like they didn't even care that they just won the Rose Bowl. Anyways, I thought it was very funny.
Because they, just like any other normal fan would do, be like, cool, we won this game, but it's not like we just won the Natty. And the craziest part is Utah fans treat it like they won the Natty by losing. And it's like they have it in their, it's been years, and they have the roses in their their
Bios.
bios and in their handles. Like I've seen some BYU fans for the Alamo Bowl put gas tanks in their bio and in their handles just to mock the Utah fans. And I just am like, this is
Uh,
amazing.
Might have
But
to steal that
uh,
idea.
I don't get it, because I don't think there's any other fan base, to be completely honest, that's gonna lose a bowl game. Like they'll try and say like, in Lavelle Edwards Stadium we have the losses, which like is a kind of controversial topic on if we should keep them or not. I think that it's like I see what they were trying to do to show like what we've been invited to, but I'd be okay if they just kept the wins. But in no way is that the same as having back-to-back losses in this bowl game in your social media handle, and you flex it as an achievement. Like
right.
BYU is like, we have a
Well, I
national
love the fact
championship,
that
and they're like, we have 2 Rose Bowl losses. And I was like, huh?
TCU fans tried to take that back from them,
Oh,
and
it
they
was so
started beef with them
awesome.
over them. But TCU burners are the best.
They're elite, and they don't care, man, woman, child, rich, poor. They will destroy you no matter who you are. They're equal right ass beaters, respectfully.
Oh. Well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go be depressed over K-State's men's basketball team. So you guys try to have fun and
One
wish me
question,
luck.
one question before you go, just because you're a big basketball guy. What did you think of BYU getting AJ? Just as your parting words.
Well, I knew that he was gonna end up going there because I had heard a few weeks before the announcement the number that was being offered to him, and I knew we were out of the race at the point at which I heard $7 million because it was reported 2 weeks before from someone close that he was offered 5 to 7 million. I was like, yeah, we're not doing that after Coleman Hawkins.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I
Makes
just
sense.
was curious what other Big 12 fan bases thought when they saw it, and I think it just gears up. If I'm any other Big 12 fan base, I'm just excited for basketball next season to be like, we can play and kind of try to shut him down and prove that like we can hang with that kind of talent. I think for BYU fans, we're just itching because we get that talent. We've never had it. Like Quentin, when you heard the news of the AJ, stuff, what were you thinking? And based on other things you've heard, were you surprised, or were you just like, yeah, this is what was happening?
No, I wasn't surprised. Just with the things we were hearing around it. Um, I knew that it would be probably difficult. Because I think Bama was making a good push at it. Um, but I knew that overall we would get him. I'm really excited to see him play here at BYU. We've never, yeah, like you said before, we've never had a player like this, and I'm itching to see him play. Um, he played at that Hoop Fest in Lehigh, I believe, and from what I've seen, he played great in that game, and they ended up winning that game 74-60. So he's going to do a lot of great things here at BYU, and even with some of the other add-ons that we have for that year, it's going to be such a fun team to watch. And I think trying to get to games for us non-season ticket holders it's going to be pretty tough.
For sure. I think it's going to be really exciting. I think it's going to be a new for like these younger, like I think it's going to be a version of like what people got to experience, in the 2010 or so with Jim Romania. Like we're gonna be able to see someone come in that is the number one player, in the entire nation, come in and want to play BYU. And like I've seen a lot of people try and trash the fact that it's like, oh, it's a one and done, you're paying this much. But I mean, most of them are Utah fans, so ball knowledge is not a requirement. But like just the fact that it's just going to propel so much of our recruiting into being like AJ went to BYU, I want to play at BYU. You know, especially if he makes it to the league and makes a splash within the first couple of seasons, like it's going to really show that like BYU can prep and help these kids get to the NBA. And part of it has to do with our entire coaching staff basically being from the NBA. But what did you think when you saw BYU Florida?
Yeah, a lot of thoughts. So, first of all, the amount of money BYU is going to make from this is going to be insane. Just ticket sales are going to go through the roof, merchandise, TV, everything. Like, this is whatever and BYU didn't even pay was our NIL, like donors. So, that's not even like, it's not like we're missing out on resources. It's kind of like Otani and the Dodgers, you know, like, um, like the amount that they make, like from just TV and getting the Japan market, like all that just absolutely makes up for everything that they're paying for him. So that's how I think AJ is going to be as far as money wise goes and investment. But yeah, if he goes first round, he could go first overall pick, have an incredible NBA career, and forever BYU will be attached for that. If he has a 10-year NBA career, wins championships, guess what's always going to be attached to that? And how much that's going to increase recruiting, and he's going to come back to BYU, just like Kevin Durant and all these Suns players who love Kevin Young, who didn't even go to BYU. They're already they're already helping out. So just think, when we start getting players in the league that went to BYU and know Kevin Young and love the system, it's gonna pay off way more than whatever money the donors spent to get him here, is my belief. And I think it's gonna set the precedent that what BYU offers over everyone else. So yes, there's the money factor, but if money, they even said everyone, offered the same amount, or at least the top schools did. And what do you think put BYU over the edge? It was Kevin Young, NBA experience, preparing for the league, and BYU. Like, you go to UNC, you go to Alabama, you go to Kansas, it's all going to be a similar experience. Yes, things culturally and in the program will vary slightly, but as far as your day to day, it's going to be very similar. As far as like in the arena, very similar. You go to BYU and you're getting the most unique, different experience than anywhere else in the country, and you are going to be a legend, revered forever. You go to UNC, they're going to forget about him. Like, he's just going to be another one.
Yep.
you know, you go to BYU, look at Jimmer. We still praise that guy. Like,
Yeah.
he's still a legend on campus. So I think all those factors, this makes me so hopeful for the future. And I hope this sets a trend of these kind of players who want that unique experience and want to prep for the league, come into BYU over other places because of that.
No, I love that, and I think that that's a huge thing. Like if you guys saw probably the video of like Kevin Durant like talking to AJ before the game, middle of the game, he makes like a nasty move to get to the basket, and one like stares AJ down after, and he's like nodding at him, and that's kind of like what we're setting ourselves up to be with Kevin Young and with these high star players, these straight to the NBA. You know, it's a pipeline, and he can help prep him to get there. We have Rob here with us, and I know he's got some fun insights with this. So, Rob, what were you thinking when you heard about AJ coming and all that, and how that's going to play into BYU's future?
It was wild this week to see national media, Bleacher Report, ESPN, talking about BYU. And it was funny as a BYU fan because we've never really been the the main focus of the national media. So you have a bunch of comments from people that are like like mad confused, like that he announced that he's going to BYU. And just it's crazy because, like, as you're saying, like, if he goes to the NBA and makes a name for himself, all of a sudden BYU is part of basketball history. But like, already people are talking about it, and it's a huge change from being in the West Coast Conference, where, like, I don't know, it's always, as a BYU fan, being independent, being in the West Coast Conference, we've always been disrespected, and kind of rightfully so. I can't lie. Like, we didn't command a bunch of respect in the independent West Coast Conference era. And just 2 years into the Big 12, it's so dope to see these changes. It's funny to see everyone's reaction to us having a little bit of clout, because, BYU is kind of hated just in general, because people are kind of, unaware of what we're about. But I thought it was funny seeing people kind of lose their minds on ESPN, Bleacher Report, all over the place, just because he committed to BYU.
No, I love that, and I think like I saw a lot of comments were like the Mormons got him. It's just like funny, to just like see those and laugh, and like even watching like AJ basically became a legend immediately. Like he's talking to Stephen A. Smith, on First Take, and he's talking to AJ and his dad. And he's like, well, I'm not really sure what's going on right now. And he's like, oh, you're not watching this year? And he's like, no. And he's like, you're not? And even the dad was like, he's not watching this year. And just like the excitement that you could almost see from AJ and his dad to already be at BYU, and then I think it was the next day or 2 days later, he's at the Marriott Center, for our home game, and he is just hyping up the crowd. He's excited to be there. He gives an interview with BYU Sports Nation with Spencer Linton, and he's like, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to see what college academics are about. And he's a very smart kid. Like he wants to study finance because he knows he's getting a pretty good sum of money this year, and then hopefully with an NBA contract. Like he wants to know what to do with it. He wants to be able to be smart, and so I think there's really no better player to come in and be and rep that Cougar name than AJ, because he's responsible. He's here to play ball. He wants to be here because the coaches, and he feels like he has a home and a family, which is just a fun thing to see, especially because that's something I feel like as BYU fans we pride ourselves on, is building that family, and that like we're all one family environment as fans, as players, as Cougars. And so it's just cool to see him embrace that as well.
It's, I think it speaks to, like, everyone, like I said, everyone was confused when he committed to BYU, but I think Kevin Young did a good job at describing how he recruits people with the honor code and everything. And he just says, like, you come to BYU, like, you're gonna ball. We're gonna play ball. We're gonna send you to the pros. Like, we're not focused on anything else. And I think that was a big deal for AJ, obviously, because he said it, like, I'm excited to play for KY and focus on hooping and nothing else. And that's kind of what you get at BYU.
Yeah, no. When I was at that home game when they announced him, you can tell the excitement. Everyone was on their feet cheering for him. Um, the students were going crazy too. It's just gonna be so much fun to watch him play in the Marriott Center, because it's gonna be sold out every game. It's gonna be loud. I think people are really gonna. I know that some people still hold the Marriott Center kind of high on their list of difficult places to play, but I think more people are gonna realize just how difficult that place is when it's sold out.
Um, you make a good point on the Marriott Center factor, especially with like I can't remember. I think it was on one of the ESPN interviews. They were talking about how during Gym Romania they went to the San Diego State game, and they said like to this day that was the most insane game and environment they have ever seen. They've of their whole career. So I think that really that's going to play a factor. Like, so imagine what we were able to do with Jimmer and that what he provided and that team, and then compare that to AJ and the team he's going to be on, and just what that Marriott Center environment's going to be for that. Like, so just think of Jimmer Mania, that team, but on an entirely new level, playing in the Big 12.
You think the Big 12 will let us storm the court and we'll get another like iconic photo, kind of like the Jimmer one?
Oh yeah, no, I think we will. I mean, since Since San Diego State, that was 2011. It's only been 2020. Gonzaga was the only other time I believe we've. So it's very rare to storm the court.
Yeah, they are fun though. I remember that Gonzaga game.
Did did someone say storm the court?
That
That's our
is
brand.
true. But man, I was at that Gonzaga game, and it was so fun to watch that team. And it was such a beautiful send off because it was so many of their last games at the Marriott Center. Yoli Childs, Elijah Bryant, um,
Jackson Toolson,
Jackson Toolson, yeah, uh,
Jake Toolson.
Barcelo,
Sorry, Jackson is his
Jake
brother.
Toolson, yeah. Um, Barcelo, wasn't he on that team as well?
He was. Yep, Barcelo. You had Zach
Dude, he
Sellius.
was. They were all so clutch.
Yeah.
They were
That
just
was such a
that
good
team
And
team.
was.
we missed
Yep,
out on March Madness because of COVID.
friggin'
That would have
COVID.
been such a fun year, and we probably would have made it out the first round depending on what our seeding was.
Yeah, I think that we have a good shot this year if BYU can figure it out. I think there's like a little bit of chemistry, but I think it's just because we have so many new people, so many transfers. You have a whole new coaching staff. Like you have veterans that have returned, but it's a very different style of play. And I think as we continue to slip into Big 12 play this season, it should line up. But like basketball future looks great with AJ, and I think with the excitement of AJ, we've overshadowed a little bit even some of the roster we have right now. You know, we have um, Catchings, we have Demon. You know, Hall is back. We have Nell if he decides he wants to hit the shots. Richie Saunders, Foose has been going crazy. Kada, Mag. Like we've got all these guys that I think we can really have a chance to make two fairly deep or at least a couple games into the tournament with both these squads that we have this year and coming in next year, which would be way sweet because we've made the tournament, but we haven't been able to win anything in recent years. So um, do you? So here's a fun question for those listening, and well, we can just see. Do you guys feel that BYU football or BYU basketball is on a more like positive trajectory right now?
Basketball.
Yeah, I would have to agree
Definitely
with that.
basketball, dude.
Getting AJ and what was his name again? Xavion Stanton, I believe. Um, Getting him too for that next year with AJ. That's going to be. We're going to have such a great team next year. KBK is going to return, I believe, as long as he doesn't go to the draft. Um, we'll have Dallin Hall. We'll have a good team put together for next year.
And not only that, the Big 12 is, basketball brand is completely different ball game than the football brand. So we have that kind of team going into the Big 12. That's could uh could work out really well. So yeah, I'd say basketball. And but football, 4-8, who cares? Let's go 10-2. So I guess I don't know with football.
No, yeah, I feel the same way, and I think that it's going to be an exciting time. And like, while basketball is on that a little bit higher of a trajectory, I think football is starting to gear up as well. And so, I'm just excited to be here with be a Cougar fan right now because it's stuff that we really haven't seen both programs be good and in somewhat of a national spotlight or the ability to be in a national spotlight in a very long time. But what do you think, Rob?
Well, going like the biggest difference in football from last year to this year, um, besides obviously like the 5-win swing, is every single game, even when we weren't playing good, we were in the game. Like Arizona State, we played like dog water in the first half, and then we came out in the second half and made a game of it. There were like 4 games last year in football where we got absolutely smoked. Like it wasn't even close after the first quarter. And then to come into this year, you're in every single game, you win 10 of them. That's a big difference. It's hopefully next year we can put more games away. That would be like my biggest thing. But the thing with basketball is like we had a great. It's kind of harder to compare years because it's like a different team, a different coach. Uh, Even this year, we're not seeing like as much dominance in like the first part of the season. When we play a good team, I mean, besides Providence, I don't know, that was a weird game. Um, I kind of feel like the team isn't like super cohesive yet, and I feel like I hope that changes by the time we get into Big 12 play, and that will carry over into next year. I don't know how many players will retain this year to next year, like the big names. Like obviously Yegor is gonna go. I don't know if Cannon Catchings is gonna have the because like I don't know what you guys think, but I haven't seen anything so far this year that I think he's just gonna immediately go to the NBA. So maybe we'll get him back next year too. But all I'm trying to say is like the trajectory of both of the teams are in very different ways, just going upwards. So with football, I feel like it'll be a little more consistent, and with basketball, we're going to see so many new faces year to year. It seems like, uh, but with the players we're getting, it doesn't seem like we're going to be on the losing end of it too much. Hopefully,
Yeah, I think especially one of the factors where basketball is different than football is just NIL and donor backing. So basketball, obviously, it's like blank check, like whatever you need. We believe in Kevin Young's vision. It's all there. Whereas this year seemed a little more hesitant. Maybe they've earned that. But I don't know. Have you guys heard anything more on football kind of gearing up to get the same level of NIL support that basketball has?
I haven't really yet, but I feel like I think that sometimes I think that there's more donations happening for football than we see. Because Ryan Smith came in, he made a big splash with like basketball and showing that. I don't think anyone's really talked about it much, but I feel like the donors for football have got to feel like, especially after this season, like they're willing to shell out a little bit more cash to try and get over that hump and win the conference and have a shot at the playoffs. Because like you have this team that shouldn't have done it, and they did. And like while they had great talent, imagine if they would have had amazing talent at a couple more positions, like could have completely changed the game. At least in my opinion.
it's probably going to take a little longer for football to catch up with the NIL. And I don't know. I feel like basketball, you got a smaller team. We're going to have so many of these, like, I mean, supposedly this year, next year, it seems like it. We will have these, they come and play for 1 year and then go to the NBA. So I feel like it's easier to kind of throw a big bag at them rather than football. You want them there longer. You want to develop them. You want to have a team for a few years rather than kind of these one and dones. But also in football, you see it on other teams a lot, and I don't didn't really work for us last year, where you get these 1 year kind of rentals with NIL. You bring in a quarterback for 1 year to see if how it works out, but I don't feel like that's really BYU's philosophy when it comes to football. So it'll be interesting to see. I feel like I would hope it's not. I would hope the NIL is more towards recruiting and not the transfer portal. Um, and maybe I'm alone in thinking that, but I would rather get Ryder Lyons um, to BYU as a freshman rather than a junior or senior stud quarterback coming in for 1 year and then going to the NFL. I would rather have a quarterback on the team for 2 or 3 years rather than just a 1 year rental.
Yeah, you make a good point. And that's what I always felt like A Rod's strength was, especially when he
Yeah,
was.
honestly, I think even with players like AJ and probably Yegor and Cannon being 1 years, I think throughout us getting players like that, we'll probably still end up getting some players that will end up staying, 2 to 4 years, and still being good for us. But I do understand, and I kind of agree with the pressure and anxiety of only having 1 year's playing at BYU over and over and over again. because then you don't really have too much of a sustainable team, at least probably on the bench.
No, yeah, I'm. It's an exciting time, and I think it'll be like it's fun to speculate, but I think time will tell. And I'm hoping that we really start to get these guys for both sports, and like as basketball gets these guys, football will get them. And like Rob said, like with football, it's a little different because you get these guys. If you get these young freshmen like AJ for football, though, they're not usually a one and done to the NFL. They're going to sit for 2, maybe 3 seasons, really build up a resume and go. And so hopefully we can do that with quarterback and with some other skilled positions, and really start to cement ourselves for a like common household name when it comes to football. Like you think of like, what we were able to do, Lavelle was able to do in the 80s and 90s, like BYU really under Kalani and Jay Hill and possibly A-Rod or another offensive coordinator really have a shot to, make that BYU a household name again and get those big names. It's like we come here and like the honor code is used for our game that we're able to just focus on football and we can help you get to that next level. Like, and you have some of the best at their position right now with, you have Kyle Van Noy who just became, I think it was the Baltimore Ravens career leader in sacks. You have Fred Warner, who has the case if he honestly gets a ring to be the best, if not one of the best, if not the best middle linebacker in the history of the NFL. And you have Puka Nacua, whose first season, goes absolutely ballistic, breaks rookie records, gets hurt in the beginning of this year, but every game since has been popping off, and they're all talent that has been started here at BYU. And I think that it's a good brand that we can sell, and that it really will cement the Kalani's legacy and Kevin Young's legacy if we can not only bring these guys in, but then win a conference championship, make run a national championship with both basketball and football. But I think that we'll probably wrap it up there for the night. Thanks for everyone for stopping in. We're gonna try to Quentin and I are gonna try and make this a podcast hopefully soon and get this done between the STF BYU network or the STF podcast network using this account. And so thanks for stopping in and go Cougs.
Go Cougs, baby.
Go Cougs.